Hello, Michael. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Greetings from Extreminal. What are you doing with your full force metal mind for your brand new album X nowadays?
Of interviews at the moment. We have been playing our first 5 shows in Denmark. That was really cool in May here, and it seems like we are going to play some of our festivals now in the Alcatraz in Belgium, for example, Big Guns in Russia, and we have some tours later on this year. So it looks really good to get out to play again, and hopefully we're gonna play also the Danish Copenhagen and Sweden Rock next year. It was moved to there, and yeah, and just enjoying that we have finished a record and people seem to like it. That's really cool.
Okay, good news. So you just started the shows, as far as I understand. It's really cool. Okay, again, let's talk about the X album. When did you start to write this new brand album?
We started about, I think, some of the two or three songs was finished a very long time ago. And the last one was written 2 months before, except for one song. We had one song we really wasn't totally finished with. The song Eternal Night was first finished, you know, the first days in the studio. So that was really tough, but it was really cool, you know. And the new guitar player, Train Meyer, also wrote some of the songs, and Peter wrote his first songs ever, so that was really cool.
Okay, how was the process of the writing of the X?
Some of the songs we did some demo stuff in Crane's place. He have a mini studio, and 2 or 3 of the songs was never been really played, you know, just in the rehearsal room, and it was very, you know, like in the old days, me and Morten worked very hard together, but with the new, we have been more separated because it was so new. I think on the next album we were working more together, you know. So, but that was the main process. Of course, we listen to what each other are doing and give our thoughts about how good it is or what we think should be changed or anything like that. But it was really good companionship, and the producer Søren Andersen is very good. We had worked with him for a long time, so it's really easy to also to say to him, we want to try some different here or something like that. So that was a good cooperation.
Okay, so what kind of musical motifs and touches did you focus on when you write this album? When you started to write this album?
We always try to keep, you know, the hook lines and the aggressive the riffing, and the way the drums are played are also very important for artillery. It's not even if it's a slow or it's a fast song, and also we worked a lot of the vocals this time, and I think Michael did a really good job this time. He going to be a little bit more aggressive on this album than he had been on the other ones. So he's very good to work with. He's very good and can do a lot of things, you know. And when we come to the final with the song in the studio, we sit with the producer and you know, take a look about what is working good here, what's not working so good, and we really get to a good place, I think. And the production on this album is, in my opinion, one of the best we ever had in the artillery. So it's really cool.
Okay, so what could you tell us about the recording process of X album? What things were in your minds when you decided to record?
You know, we always do the things we want to do first in the studio is the guitars and the drumming, and that's why we rehearse a lot. You know, Josh is a really good drummer, so he can really go for the ideas. If you play a song into the studio and you find out that, okay, this kind of riff is maybe going to be a little bit more drummed like this or that, he can change very fast, you know, and that's really cool. And then we put the bass and the vocals on. We work a lot with the vocals, and the guitar solos is one of the last things we do on the studio. And of course, the production is the last one.
So last touches you focused on, and then produced all the album and released. Okay, so right now, how are the reactions for the X album from press and fans so far?
I think it's been very, very good, and I'm really glad about that because, as I said, it was the first album but not have Morten play guitar on, so Morten have some had some really good things to put on artillery style, so it was very difficult for us to know what people will say, but it's been really good reviews and people really seem to like it, and the fans are also very good. I think we got on the German album chart list for the first time ever. We never had been that before, so that was really cool, and a lot of people really wanted to have both the CD and the vinyl, and that's also very cool, So we're really glad, And as I said, the fans has been very glad also, and that's very important for us.
Okay, cool news from the artillery front. Okay, let's talk with your contribution to the Metal Blade Records with 2013's Legion album. I believe your most productive period was also started with this contract after 80s, because you also were contracted with Metal Blade in the end of 1980s, and your mic'd album by Inheritance was released by Metal Blade. Okay, how did it happen again, nearly over 20 years?
We've been working with Metal Blade since When Dead Comes. The By Inheritance album was on Roadrunner, and the two first album was on Lead Records. So, and then we have When Dead Comes and My Blood was on Metal Blade, and then it was on Metal Mind, and then it was Metal Blade. So since 2012, we've been working with Metal Blade, and it has been really cool and really good. They are a really good company and support us very much, and we're really glad to work with them.
Okay, how did it happen again? How did you get contracted with Metal Blade in Legion's album?
We had at that time made a demo with 2 songs, and Requiem and a song called Dice Area. And Metal Blade heard those 2 songs with the new singer and said they want to hear more and sign us. So we had a meeting with them, and then it all happened very fast. And they said, you have to do an album. You can have 2 months to write a new album, and then okay, we do that. So we worked very fast and hard. And I remember we made the title track Legions first, and then 2 of the other songs, and then it goes really straight. So that was really cool.
And your most productive era just started because you just released album in every 2-year period nearly. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your brother Morten. Unfortunately, you lost your brother in blood, Morten, who was the original member, guitar and bass shredder and songwriter of Artillery in 2019. His soul rest in peace. How did Morten's early loss influence you and Artillery?
Okay, Morten was very tough because, we knew he was sick. He wasn't playing with us live for a long time, and but we still had hoped, that he would do all right, So when he died, it was really tough for us because I always worked very together with him, and since we were small kids, so it was really, really tough, not having him anymore, And it was the first time ever I was thinking about stopping playing music, But Morten always said to me, you had to go on with Artillery, and no matter what happened, you had to go on with the band. And I promised him that, and that's what we did. And I'm sure if he listens to X somewhere out there, he will say give us the thumbs up. So yeah, it was tough, but
okay, it's not an easy situation for all you guys, especially for you. Okay, let's talk about the early days. Very early days. How did you get involved into heavy metal music world when you were a young Paul? And how and why did you want to be a musician in the most extreme form of music in the 80s?
It all started because I have a friend who have a big brother, and the big brother was a lot into Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Jethro Tull, Slade, and stuff like that. And he played a lot of that for us, and he could play a little bit on guitar. And every time I heard those kind of songs, my brother and me, we said, oh shit, we won't do anything like that. And then we went to our first concert as small kids in 1974 and saw the band Slade. And after we saw that, we was sure we want to be musicians. So the next show we saw was Black Sabbath. And after that, we started to rehearse and bought a guitar and an amplifier and find a friend who had a very small drum set. And we started to that in a band called Silver Cross, who's also one of the titles on the new albums. So that's a bit fun. And after that, we rehearsed a lot of getting a little bit better. And we started to be more like, really wanted to know what we wanted to play. When we called in the last band before Artillery, who was calling it the Devil's Symphony, who also is a track on the new album. And after that, we find out we want to play a bit more heavier. And after we heard Accepts, it all started back in the early days. I have a friend who had a big brother who listened a lot to Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Slade, Grand Funk Railroad, and a lot of bands like that. And when my brother heard that, we wanted to say, hey, we also want to play music. And then we was to our two first shows with Slade in 1974 as kids, and Black Sabbath in 1976. And after that, we were sure we want to be musicians. We bought our first guitars and our first amplifiers and had a friend who had a very small drum kit. We called the first band Silver Cross, who is on the new album as a title. And then we got a band called the Devil's Symphony just before Artillery, and we heard the song Except Fast as a Shark. And after that, we know what kind of style we wanted to play, and that was Artillery.
Okay, let's talk about the formative and the first years of Artillery. How was Artillery formed and you joined it later? What is the story of Artillery for people who don't know you well?
It all started when Morten and me playing in the band called Devil's Symphony with a singer called Per Nink, and Carsten and Jørgen, who was the first members of Artillery, rehearsed in the same time in a little small village in Denmark called Tostrup. And we knew a guy who called Ole, who played the drums, and he comes a lot from, he's played in Merciful Fate, in the first part of Merciful Fate, and we knew both this guy, and he said we should try to get together. And we was meeting, and we found out that we wanted to go in the same direction, because at that time, not many bands in Denmark wanted to play really heavy stuff. So we started to play that, and in start, people call us a kind of Motorhead punk band, because they didn't know what kind of style we was playing.
Yeah.
So later on they called it thrash metal in 1984. So we were playing thrash metal. We didn't use it, but that was fun. But that was a cool time. And we played, I think at that time we played only 3 or 4 shows a year. We couldn't play more because people don't want to hear that kind of really heavy kind of style.
Okay. So Michael, there's a story in your history. And I always wonder the story of your gigs in Uzbekistan of Soviets back in time. And many bands walked through the wall of Soviets when they were allowed to play, but only in East Europe or East Germany or something they could go to mostly. How could you reach the Central Asia in the last era of the Soviets? What could you tell us about this fantastic journey?
The Russian government and the Danish government had a kind of exchanging bands, and that's kind of stuff called Next Stop Soviet, and we was invited. I really don't think they knew what kind of style we was playing, but they invited us. And when we first come over to play and played the first shows, they was in kind of shock because they have never seen things like that before. And the young Russian music fans, was really wild, but in a good way. But the Russian authorities didn't really like that because that was too wild, So they started to beat them up and throw them out and say they couldn't come. So the next day they come all in kind of very, very fine suits and just standing like they couldn't headbang. So they're just watching, But we played 6 shows before it was disbanded and sent out of Russia, and they said it was Western Decency. So that was really strange. But I remember remember the young people was really glad and really supported, you know. And one of the guys said to me, they will never forgive this because they really liked it. I love it, you know. And we have been back to Russia playing many times since, so with no problem. So that's cool.
Okay, it's an interesting story with the governmental influence between Soviets and Danish government. Okay, it's interesting. Okay, so Artillery is one of the longest history thrash metal bands. Okay, and you are still around, but you had to leave the music scene 2 times in 90s and 2000s. I still remember when I first listened to your first reunion album back in 1999. It was kick-ass, just like by inheritance, and probably better. And talk why you gave such a huge long break. And in the history of the bands, what things forced you to give 2 long breaks in your career?
Yeah, you know, when we first broke up in after by inheritance, around a year after that, the problem was some of us really wanted to go out to play a lot of shows, and someone really didn't want to play so many shows. So that was a big problem because Roadrunner at that time wanted us to go out to play a lot of shows. So we got a really bad chemistry because of that. And yeah, I decided to leave the band because I wanted to play, you know, at that time. And I formed a new band called Missing Link at that time. And after that, we talked about trying once more, and we recorded the album Back. And but the Back was more like a project. It was never really a band, you know, like I wanted to a band with a lot of people who go out to play, you know, and have fun and stuff like that. So it only, I think we played 1 show at Wacken and 1 show in 2004, and then we couldn't play more. So that was really not a lot. So then we decided in 2007 to try with the new singer and try to see what's happened. And after 2017, we have been playing around 8 to 100 shows a year. So that's really a big difference, you know. So that's the main reasons why we split, you know, because you can make a good album people like if you don't play and support it.
Okay, so let's talk about your musical orientation. With this orientation, let's talk about the Orient music and Orient melodies and rhythms has been a part of Artillery albums, and it has been a signature of your sound for a long time. Every album has some or a few from Orient influenced Artillery marked riffs and melodies. How did you get into this kind of riffing and then own it?
Yeah, it's all started for a very long time because the guitar player, Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple, had a lot of those kinds in his way to play. A lot of Oriental stuff, you know, Middle East inspired stuff. But it really happens when we played in the Russian tour, where we played a lot of shows near the Afghanian border and stuff like that. And we heard a lot of that in the train we was going for. We was driving in a train for 3,000 kilometers. So we heard a lot of that stuff. And on that train, the idea for Comaniac started. So after that, it's just, you know, been to our hearts, and we really love that. And you can also hear that on the new albums. There's still songs. Of course, we don't want to do it in all songs, but we still have some songs where we're doing that because we really love to play that kind of things, you know. And I'm sure if we ever come to play in Turkey again, I'm sure the people also will like that.
Okay, so it's Martin's choice, and especially Soviet tours influenced you about this issue. Yeah. Okay. How do you consider the evolution of your sound and music in Artillery, which is a lifetime career of you?
Oh, you know, we always try to do the best and have fun, you know, and for us, it's so important to play music we like, because we always try to make the music as we wanted to hear it ourselves, you know. I can play, for example, only play AC/DC, for example. It's not like I don't like AC/DC, but that's not kind of my favorite music, you know. I wanted to play like that, and my personal taste goes from Black Sabbath to Slayer. So I had to put a bit of everything of that into the music, to really like it, because as I said, we want to play what we also want to hear ourselves, and that's what we are trying to do. So we still have a lot of fun. So that's very important.
So what are your future plans with X album in the next days?
We're gonna play here in Denmark 2 shows. We're gonna play on Thursday in Copenhagen, and we're playing in a little town called Nakskov on the 19th. We have a show for the first time outside Denmark, the 3rd of June in Russia, the Big Guns Festival, who's a big festival in Moscow. And as it looks like now, we're gonna be allowed to play there and had no problems coming back. So that's opened up a lot of new things, and I can see a lot of new countries are coming on board. I don't know how it's in Turkey right now, but in Denmark it's really good with the Corona stuff. It's all going really, really down, and many people are vaccinated at this time. So, and I think in Russia they also have their own vaccination. So we're really looking forward to get out and play outside Denmark again. So yeah, we look forward to that.
Okay. So how do you define your future plans for Artillery? Can we expect that we can see you alive and you play thrash metal after 10 years?
Yeah, actually, we were still playing all the shows we can do, and we want to have any more. I know there's a lot of new coming. I know we got Portugal, we got France, we got Belgium. We got a full tour with a lot of great bands from America and Canada on a tour, a European tour, and we got some shows in Norway, and so there's a lot of things coming, and we always try to keep both old songs and new songs combined, So we in a progress now, because it's going to be more and more difficult to choose the songs we're going to play, because we have made so many albums now. So we really have to think about what we want to have to play, And of course, some songs we have to play, like a Comaniac, for example. So that's tough, to choose the songs, but it's fun.
Okay. So for Artillery sound and the musical background, in the last decade, what differences can you make in your music? What can you say about the differences in the last decade in Artillery sound?
Compared to the first or two?
Yes. You have a long history, and in the last decade, you have been pretty active. Okay.
Yeah,
you put a lot of new albums on the desk.
Of course, the biggest difference is the vocal, I think, because many people think it's a very, very different from the old way of Artillery, But I think musically we haven't changed so much, We still have the same influences and still try to have the same things, have the hook lines, the riffing and the way the drums are playing and stuff like that, as I said. And of course, Michael sings a bit different from Fleming or from Søren Adamsen, but it's still always, Artillery has always had that kind of singing, You never have a singer like in Creator, for example, or in Slayer. You always try to have that clean vocals, because that's also, I think, is a very good thing for Artillery to have that kind of difference for many of the other melodic bands. You can maybe compare us more to Flotsam and Jetsam or Forbidden or something like that in the thrash metal area. But we also like to play, some riffing for in style with Black Sabbath, for example, combined into our music, and that's, I think, we try to do to try to get Artillery to sound unique, because we have all those kind of differences in it. We don't have to play 10 fast songs or 10 ballet songs, We're not even afraid to do a song like The Ghost of Me, for example, who is a ballad kind of things, because we always have one of those songs since Don't Believe from by Inheritance, So that's cool to have that difference in the music, because I think you're going to survive longer if you do that. if you then do 10 albums with 10 fast songs all the time, I think people are gonna get a little bit bored and say, how come you never do anything different? You know, maybe AC/DC can make the 12 albums will sound more the same, but I don't think Artillery should do that.
Okay, so I think we reached the end of this interview. Thank you so much for your precious time and cool answers, Michael. What would you like to tell to your fans and thrash metal warriors out there?
For the Turkey fans, I will say we have got two really great gigs in Turkey, and we really hope to get back someday. And all the things that we have good support from Turkey. You know, also I know I did some video stuff for some web magazines in Turkey before. And I will say to the Turkish fans, keep the spirit high, listen to metal, and go out to listen to the new Artillery X album. And take care. And hope to see you there. Hope we can return to Turkey.